With the world leaning more and more into degeneracy, there aren't going to be many traditional values left for people to preserve in the future. But what are the root causes of our degenerate society? With technology constantly evolving and our culture always changing, it's clear that the culture has shifted to over-sexualize mainly women. This over-sexualization can be seen through music, social media, and other forms of art. Although it does put millions into the pockets of the very few at the top, has anyone really asked, what are the long-term consequences of an over-sexualized society? In the modern world, porn has become such a prevalent form of entertainment. With the rise of the internet, access to adult content has never been easier. According to recent studies, approximately 30% of all data transferred across the internet is related to pornography. This massive industry generates billions of dollars annually, having a large impact on our culture, with porn taking advantage of our innate animalistic tendencies as humans to want to reproduce. The reward system is part of our brain that responds to important survival resources. One of its main components is the neurotransmitter/hormone dopamine. This important chemical in the brain becomes activated when we encounter such things as food, social resources, achievements, and intimate relationships. With food increasing dopamine output to 150% of normal production, nicotine from cigarettes increasing it to 200%, sexual intercourse increases it to 250%. In contrast, pornography increases dopamine output even higher than sex and maintains that output far longer. So the brain interprets porn to be extremely valuable and essential to survival. The brain becomes hypersensitive to this resource, so the images become seared into the memory that the brain recalls regularly to stimulate the desire to seek for the resource. While substances can metabolize out of the body, porn cannot be metabolized out of the brain, because pornographic images are stored in the brain's memory. Other things associated with pornography use, including technology, places of use, being alone, emotional states, etc., can become triggers. When a trigger is recognized, our body creates stimulation and excitement to use the stimulus. When dopamine is received by the receptor sites, it creates a feeling of pleasure. The excess use of pornography increases the release of dopamine dramatically, but our brains do not like the overstimulation. As well as this, it will desensitize our minds, requiring more extreme content to achieve the same level of satisfaction. Two areas of the brain, the anterior cingulate and the orbital frontal cortex, function to override the reward system's desire to increase dopamine, as they act to suppress the reward system, which is done by changing how the neurons function by removing receptor sites. The loss of receptor sites during desensitization changes how someone experiences normal forms of pleasure, meaning what we would normally find pleasure in becomes less enjoyable, as we need higher sources of dopamine to allow us to feel normal levels of pleasure. Prolonged exposure to pornography hijacks the body's stress responses. When the body senses that triggers related to porn aren't being acted on, the body releases stress hormones. These hormones have a significant effect on heart rate, blood pressure, and digestion. So in order to end the stress response, the person consumes pornography. Studies have shown that the brain responds to pornographic images in a similar way to addictive substances. Many abused substances directly trigger dopamine secretion without us having to work to accomplish a goal, and this can damage the dopamine reward system. With porn, you can get sex or have an orgasm without the work of meeting someone. Neurological research has shown that the effect of pornography on the brain is as potent, if not more, than addictive chemical substances like cocaine or heroin. So how does porn compare with these substances? Cocaine is a stimulant that increases dopamine levels in the brain. As dopamine is released, it causes a high and a craving for more of a high, instead of feeling satisfaction through endorphins, which is the same effect as pornography. One significant consequence of excessive porn consumption is its potential impact on real-life relationships. Studies suggest that individuals who consume large amounts of adult content may struggle with intimacy, leading to dissatisfaction in their relationships. As well as this, the constant exposure to explicit material may lead to desensitization, where individuals find it challenging to become aroused by real-life stimuli. This desensitization has been linked to erectile dysfunction in some cases, affecting the sexual health of young men. Contrary to some stereotypes, porn consumption is not limited to a specific age group or gender. Research suggests that both men and women of various ages watch it. However, studies indicate that the majority of porn consumers are young men. This demographic is particularly vulnerable to the negative effects of pornography, with young men on average first viewing porn at the age of 10. Therefore, it's crucial to understand the impact of porn on the developing minds of these individuals. Our brains have different abilities depending on age. At some ages, we are more susceptible to porn addiction, as we have fewer abilities to overcome it. This is where parents should act to inhibit the consumption of adult content until the child's frontal cortex, which is their reasoning area, is developed enough to take control. The closer to 25 a person is, the better they are at realizing the consequences of their actions. The two main reasons you should avoid porn is because it will have a negative impact on your mental health, and it can have a negative effect on the relationships you have, specifically with women. Now, the way that porn differs from sex is that sexual arousal is the result of testosterone, dopamine, and norepinephrine surges, where the euphoria experienced during orgasm is related to the release of endogenous opiates. On the contrary, pornography activates the appetitive system through dopamine. An orgasm caused by pornography does not release endorphins, which are the chemicals that make us feel satisfied. By contrast, endorphins are released after having an orgasm caused by having sex with another human. The lack of satisfaction, combined with the brain's competitive plasticity, causes the brain to want more and more, craving more extreme pornographic content. Let's discuss how young men can avoid falling into the trap of porn consumption. We can talk about how limiting access through blocking websites and educational awareness can help us avoid porn. But as long as the thought is in our mind, it's hard to stop watching porn because of the animalistic tendencies we have as humans, which means we need to focus on three things to break that cycle. The first one is outside influences, meaning you need to watch what you're consuming and how you're consuming, so be mindful about how you use your time, especially when you're on the internet, because outside influences have a bigger impact on our subconscious mind than we realize. So aim to avoid going on social media, because the algorithms will feed you whatever it needs to keep you on the platform for longer in order to make more money off you. If you can't do that, tailor the algorithms so that they are changed so you don't come across softcore pornographic content. Secondly, the way you break the cycle is to create purpose in your life. As young men, and I can only speak on behalf of young men, purpose must fill the void in your life. Otherwise, you'll mindlessly consume bullshit. So create purpose for yourself, something that will bring you long-term fulfillment to your life, something that gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning. If your purpose makes you miserable or stressed, it's highly likely that you'll also use porn as a means of escaping. So find something that is genuinely fulfilling to your life. Finally, go outside and talk to women. Get better at talking to people in general, because a large reason you watch porn is because of a lack of females in your life. So don't cope and disagree. I know going out and physically getting women can be daunting, but you have to put in the hard yards if you want to get the best results out of your life. And you won't get that from sitting on your ass all day.